Okay, so it turns out that I was using this wrong. You don't just hold this here, you actually press down and actually screw this hose adapter on so that there's no leakage. See what the pressure is. There you go, see? What's up YouTube, Henry Chung Fitness here. Today we are here to review the Cycplus bike pump. So Cycplus is a company out of China and they do make bike pumps, mini bike pumps, the AS2 series, as well as cycling computers and also bike trainers, smart bike trainers, and they are the first to develop the first brushless DC motor smart trainer, which is really cool to see. They're also in accessories and other cycling related equipment, so go check them out at cycplus.com. Use code HenryChungFitness for a discount, and without further ado, let's get right into it. These were provided to me by Cycplus, so thank you Cycplus for sending these. These are the latest generation of mini bike pumps for on the go, and they're a portable solution. Okay, so we have here the AS2, AS2 Pro, and the AS2 Pro Max. So let's go ahead and open them up. What is the difference between each of them? So in the box of the AS2, go ahead and open this up, and it looks like we've got the instructions for the AS2. We've got a baggie, and I believe this baggie is to kind of keep your inflator waterproof, so it's meant to be kept in or stored in this bag, and it's kind of cool that they provide that. Put that to the side, and in here we've got the Cycplus inflator, we've got the charging cable, and we've got the inflator. So let's go ahead and turn this on. So press once, green light, press again, and oh, do you hear that? It's pretty loud, but I mean, as with all these mini pumps, they must be pretty loud. It says high temp nozzle, hot, caution. When the tire is not fully flat, start the pump before attaching it to the valve. So basically you have to turn it on before putting it on the valve and then attach it to the valve. So that's interesting. Okay, and in here we've got a charging cable, and it looks like this is a USB-C charging cable. Oh, interesting. So both ends are USB-C, and here we've got a rubber tip and also the nozzle, I believe. So let's go check out what that is. Okay, so for TPU inner tubes with resin valves, be sure to connect them with an extension air hose available separately, or the valves may melt due to overheating. So I'm assuming the TPU tubes, because of the temperature from here, it will heat up the nozzle, or sorry, the valve stem of the TPU tube. So just a note on that, make sure to use the extension hose. Now, the extension hose does seem to come with the AS2 Pro and the AS2 Pro Max, so something to consider there if you're using TPU tubes, which I currently am. And it looks like you've got the inflator, the silicone case right here. You've got the seal part, pillar, and cable and waterproof bag as we saw. So as you can see here, this is the Type-C charging port, power button and indicators here. And it says weight 97 grams, working time about 200 seconds, max pressure 100 psi, and some other details. Your battery is 300 milliamp hours. It could be used for Schrader or Presta, depending on how you use this. So for the Presta valve, it looks like you remove this little pillar. So you flip the seal part. So I'll just go ahead and show you. Essentially, you unscrew this portion like so. So you unscrew this. So this is already set up for the Presta valve, as you can see. And in order to set it up for the Schrader valve, I believe you flip this inside out. It looks like they give you an extra one here. You set this piece in here, like so. like just like that, and you stick this rubber portion in here, and you go ahead and tighten this up, and this is now set up for a Schrader valve, which for mountain bikes and others, press the button to activate the inflator, indicator will light up. Press the power button twice within 3 seconds after activation to start inflating. So we've got green, yellow, red in terms of battery level. And yeah, so hold the inflator tight. Keep clear of the charging port during operation. Oh, that's interesting. The Aaron is actually in this port here. That's really smart engineering. That's really cool. And that's about it. Fully charged before use. So I'm going to go ahead and charge this just to make sure that it's fully charged before we set it up. But essentially, we've got a 700 by 25 tire up to 80 psi would be about 80 to 90 seconds. So that's how long it would take. And up to 100 psi, closer to 150 to 160 seconds. Now I'm running 28s on my road bike and 25s on my tri bike. So on the tri bike, I'd be running closer to 90 psi, and then 28s, I'd be running closer to 80 psi. So we'll go ahead and check how long it will actually take to inflate this tire. Okay, first things first, we've got our wheel here. Now this is a 28 millimeter tire, Ultra Sport 3 from AliExpress, and Ride Now TPU tubes, also from AliExpress. We're going to go ahead and deplete this of air, and then we'll give it a go with all 3 different pumps. So let's go ahead and test that out. Okay, I'll stop it at 1 minute 40, which is about 100 seconds, because this pump is rated to 200 seconds. So we'll see how much that pumped up. I don't think it reached, I'm going to say it probably reached around 60 to 70 psi for the AS2 on a 100-second pump. Okay, so it looks like it's about 57 psi. Double check that. Yep, 57 psi. So 57 psi for a 28 millimeter tire at 100 seconds. Let's add a bit more time to that, maybe 2 minutes. So that would be 120 seconds to see it increases the pressure up to, let's say, 80 psi. But in my mind, I think this one could probably only do a single tire. You can see it's already yellow, which means it's lower battery. Okay, so the pump is definitely getting hot now. And once again, we'll go ahead and check the pressure. So that was about 2 minutes of inflation time using the AS2 on a 28 millimeter tire. And let's see what pressure. Earlier it was about 57 psi, and now it's about 65 psi. So 65 psi on a 28 millimeter tire, and with about 2 minutes inflation. So I'd say for the AS2 pump, you'd probably only get one true fill for a 28 millimeter tire. Might as well go ahead and continue to see if I can fully inflate this to 80 psi. Nope, that one's the wrong pump. Okay, this one. So it is quite warm. It's saying yellow. Let's see what happens. Okay, so 2 minutes 30 seconds, which is 150 seconds. So there's probably about what, 50 seconds left in this pump. Let's go ahead and check that pressure. So we're at 73 psi now. Let's keep that going. See, we're already seeing red. Almost, the battery's almost done. Two minutes 45 seconds. I think that should do it. But yeah, again, the pump is definitely warming up, so it's pretty hot. And let's see. Oh, 75 psi. What the heck? So let's go ahead and turn that back on. Okay, that's pretty much, I think the pressure was too much for the pump, or the battery's pretty much dying. So that's about 3 minutes, I'd say 3 minutes, which is 180 seconds, very close to the 200-second runtime that's advertised. So let's go ahead and check the pressure there. Nope, misread. Okay, so 76.6 psi, almost there, almost to 80 psi. I'd say the AS2 is not quite up for the run for a 28 millimeter tire, but you know, if you are in a pinch, this could work. But I probably would go the route of a CO2 cartridge instead, mostly because you don't have the PSI gauge, so you're kind of guessing what pressure you're at. Okay, so we'll go ahead and unbox the AS2 Pro. What is the difference between the AS2 and AS2 Pro? Once again, we've got the instruction manual here, and once again, another waterproof bag. So these are not waterproof, so make sure you keep them in a waterproof bag and then in your saddle bag or in your jersey pocket, whatever. But it's kind of neat that they give you this. And then you've got the inflator right here. So this is the AS2 Pro, and look at that, you've got a handy dandy LCD screen. That's really cool. And in here, as mentioned, you do get some of your other goodies. So the USB-C charging cable, you've got the pillar as they call it, and you have the hose extension. So this will be nice and convenient to have. And you've got a presta valve converter, and you also have the seal part as they mentioned. And they even give you, looks like a needle valve, ball needle for balls, and some kind of extra O-ring here. Yeah, it might be an extra O-ring for this piece right here. So this one as well, connect the hose before using on TPU tubes. So it's cool that you've got your hose extension that they give you. Cool. Yeah, you can set the target pressure, which is nice to have. And yeah, the operation mode is quite similar. And this one is max pressure 120 psi, 120 grams for this one, and the battery is 420 milliamp hours for this one. So let's go ahead and see this one. So you've got 3 buttons here, a series of 3 buttons. Press the power button, yes, press and hold to turn it on. There you go. And you can go ahead and set your different pressure right there. This is nice to have because the AS2, this one doesn't have a gauge, a digital gauge, so you don't really know how much you've inflated your tire to or tube, but this one has a gauge, so really handy dandy to set the pressure. And honestly, size-wise, it's not that different. I'd say it's very similar in size. I would definitely opt for this one because it has the pressure gauge. So this is how you set up the hose. You just attach it like so. And this right here is set up for, I believe it's set up for a Schrader valve right now, but Let's set this up, and then you've got your presta valve fitting like so. So it's kind of neat. And then let's say you set it to 90 psi, turn this on, plug your ears. Oh yeah, that's loud. So yeah, there you have it. This is the AS2 Pro, and we'll set it to 80 psi, and ready, go. 1 minute 6 seconds. We'll remove that. Okay, and it still says we have 3 batteries left. So again, this is the AS2 Pro, and we'll go ahead and check the pressure of the TPU tube. So once again, I'll have to remind you, make sure to screw on this hose adapter to the pressa valve. That way you have the secure fit. Let's go ahead and measure the pressure. Okay, there we go. That's the right one. 78.3 psi. Again, plus or minus, let's say 2 psi. Just measure that again. 78.9 psi. So yeah, it's pretty much plus or minus 2 psi for the pumps. But that was, again, 1 minute 6 seconds for the AS2 Pro. And it does seem to have 3 batteries left still. But I'd say you'd probably be able to inflate about 2 to maybe 3 tires that are 28 millimeters at 80 psi. Okay, we'll go ahead and open up the AS2 Pro Max. This one is definitely bigger than the other ones. Once again, you get a handy dandy waterproof bag for this one as well, so that's really neat. And in here you've got the same fittings as the AS2 Pro. So you've got the hose extension, and this here is the bad boy. This is, wow, I'd say it's almost double the size. Almost, not quite. But for reference, this is the AS2 Pro Max. You've got your pressure gauge here. Set it up to whatever pressure you need. And this one definitely has enough charge for multiple. They do all have automatic shutoff. But yeah, this one's the AS2 Pro Max. And once again, use the hose extension for TPU tubes so you don't melt the valve stems. Pretty much the same instructions in how to use this one as the AS2 Pro. And yeah, this one weight is 205 grams claimed, and it has a 600 milliamp hour battery and max pressure of 120 psi. But yeah, this is the big boy. Okay, that's an empty tire. Now we're going to go ahead and screw this attachment on. Screw the hose attachment all the way on like so. The pump just even stays there just like that. It's a 28 millimeter tire set to 80 psi. Let's go. About 50 seconds for 80 psi. Now there is a bit of leakage, but pretty much 50 seconds. Let me just do this one last time. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and loosen this up and can pull this off. We still have 3 battery left, so it's good to see. And we'll go ahead and measure the pressure. 79.3, so pretty much right on the dot to 80 psi, plus or minus 1 psi, so it's really good there. Again, 50 seconds for 80 psi. It's pretty awesome, with plenty of battery left in the AS2 Pro Max. The AS2 Pro Max, in my opinion, is a win. Not only is the pump stronger, it's quieter, it's faster, and it's not that much bulkier or bigger. I mean, it is almost double the size of the AS2 Pro, but this, in my opinion, is your go-to for pumping up air. I still have 3 bars of battery left, so that's really neat. This was a 28 millimeter tire to 80 psi in 50 seconds, and I could probably inflate about 2 or 3 more times and it will still maintain its charge. These ones are the go-tos in my opinion. These are definitely giving you an edge over CO2 cartridge because you get the pressure gauge, you get the runtime, and they are slightly bigger, but they definitely perform. Okay, let's go ahead and weigh these. So this one is the AS2, 116 grams. So they actually give you the mass of the inflator without this silicone sleeve. So maybe I'll go ahead and remove this. I believe it was like 97 grams without, but I mean, everyone's going to use this because it helps to protect from the hot temperature. So 98 grams, very close to the claimed weight of 97 grams. However, that is one way that they can claim a lighter weight by not providing the full weight, including this case. So with the case, 116 grams. I'm just going to measure these all with the case because that's how everyone will likely use it. The AS2 Pro with the case, 136 grams, and AS2 Pro Max with the case, 227 grams. Okay, so you've seen me use all 3 of these pumps, and in my personal opinion, having these pumps is pretty awesome. You're able to recharge it fairly quickly within, I'd say, 30 minutes or so, and you have the USB-C charging capabilities. Now, in terms of which pump I would choose, I personally really like the AS2 Pro Max because it does have the largest battery. It has the most powerful pump, and it pumps up fairly quickly for a 28 millimeter tire. I believe it was about 50 seconds for a 28 millimeter tire to 80 psi. Now, the AS2 Pro is also a good option. It's smaller, battery capacity is smaller as well, and so you'll be able to fill less tires with this one, and it will be slightly slower than the AS2 Pro Max. However, you still get the pressure gauge, which in my opinion is a must-have for these situations. So all in all, I probably wouldn't really recommend the AS2, mostly because you don't get the pressure gauge, and I could only really inflate a 28 millimeter tire to about 76 or so psi on one charge. And that being said, I think it's better to shell out just a bit more money for the AS2 Pro, which has the pressure gauge once again, so you know exactly when to stop pumping. And on the other hand, the AS2 Pro Max, which is the biggest out of the lot, however, it does have the highest capacity. This is probably the go-to. Now, don't forget, when you're using these pumps, make sure to screw on the hose adapter to your presta valve. And honestly, I would use the hose adapter no matter which valve you're using, whether it's the plastic valve stem or a metal valve stem. I'd still use the hose adapter just because it's just easier to use. Screw it on, inflate, and you're good to go. Would I say that these completely replace CO2 cartridges? Not necessarily. Honestly, in let's say a race type of situation, a CO2 cartridge will come in handy because it's much quicker to inflate. It's almost instantaneous. However, having these are fairly handy, especially if you're traveling. You can't really travel with CO2 cartridges if I'm not mistaken. However, you can travel with an inflator with a battery. So all in all, these are the Cycplus bike inflators, and they do work quite well once you use the hose adapter to really press the valve. Just make sure to keep them charged up and topped up, just so that you know that the next time you do have a flat, they'll have full battery. I've been on the road once when the battery did die, and honestly, having an uncharged mini pump is pretty much useless. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you've used Cycplus inflators or mini bike pumps, let me know in the comments below. Which one do you prefer, AS2, AS2 Pro, or the AS2 Pro Max? Until next time, have a good one.